Hello, my dear friends. I'm very happy. One more week, one more opportunity to talk to you, and one more opportunity for you to start making changes, to review your lifestyles, review what you do, review what you can do to be healthy. Because once again, health pays, it produces a lot of money. If we are healthy, we can work, we can produce, we can do a lot of things that are going to be better than any investment that you can do in your life. Your ability to do things, your ability to work, your stamina, your strength are the biggest assets that any human can have. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm here with you once again through Truth Be Told Radio Network. And I have to tell you that this is a fantastic opportunity to be with you, to enter your personal space and be able to have a conversation. And all we have to do is you have to tune in every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Truth Be Told Radio Network. And if you miss it for any chance, you can go the following Saturday, 9:30 a.m. at Eastern Standard Time, and you shouldn't miss it. But if anyway you miss it, oh, here's another big chance. Go to Spotify and search for Truth Be Told Radio Network, and search our website, and search our social media, and search any way of modern communication and networking that we have available, so we can listen to each other, we can chat. Because, yes, this is a conversation. So I encourage you to follow me. I encourage you to ask questions, and I will encourage you to ask any questions or comments that you might have. And you might disagree on something. And if we try to clarify the disagreement, you and I are going to learn something new. So it is not bad to disagree, it is bad not to express it. So let's talk about it, let's review it. And one of the areas that concerns me a lot, it concerns me for many, many reasons. And as soon as you hear the word, you're going to say, yeah, you're definitely right. One thing that worries me as a doctor, as an individual, as any of you that are listening, uh, is cancer. Cancer is a word that we hate to talk about, that we hate to hear about. Uh, for whatever circumstances, some people even hide it. They say, "Don't tell anybody that I have cancer," and we feel bad, and the consequences from every possible angle are very bad. We're going to spend a lot of money. We're going to spend a lot of time. We're going to have to go to doctor's appointments and laboratory appointments. And we are going to have to go to the hospital for certain treatments, if not to radiation therapy. Worse, we can go to the operating room and be disabled for weeks after that. So, the way you put it is going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of problem, even in the best cases. Even in the best case scenario, you're going to have to be spending a lot of your resources, economic and everything. And of course, we all are afraid of that. Now, when I say cancer, cancer is a very difficult word to describe. There are many diseases where you can go to the dictionary and you're going to see what it is. It's fairly easy. You say, I got appendicitis. You can go to Google it and you're going to see a lot of answers. It's going to tell you what appendicitis is and how it should be treated. Same if you say a much serious disease like tuberculosis, you're going to find exactly what it is. We know what it is. We know how it evolves. We know how we can cure it because we can cure it. You can meet a lot of people that can tell you, I had tuberculosis. I went to my doctors, I went to my hospital, and now I even hardly remember it. That's being cured, isn't it? And it doesn't happen with cancer. So that's why we're so afraid of cancer, because every time we go to the doctor, he's going to tell us, no, there is not a cure, but there is a way to control it. And I was telling you that it's even difficult to describe. If you go to any source, any search engine, and ask, what is cancer? That specific question, what cancer is. I don't want any things around it. Tell me what is cancer. And they're going to give you a lot of facts. A lot of facts. I could fill a library with facts. Well, there are cells that are reproducing without control, cells that act as if they were embryonic, cells that do this, cells that do that. Cancers can go here, cancers can go there, it should be treated this way or the other, etc. But no one is going to tell you this is what cancer is. We don't even know what causes it. So all we know is that it's a growing problem. We see more and more cancers, and used to be an old person's disease. Now it is not anymore. So forget about the common excuse that many medical practitioners are going to give you. They say we are seeing a lot more cancers because, one, we're living longer. Two, we're diagnosing it better. Yes, the second might be true. We have much better ways to diagnose cancer than we did before. But the fact that we're seeing more cancer because we're living longer, that creates me a big problem. Because where are those cases of cancer in their 50s or 40s or 30s? Why cancer is the second cause of death among American adolescents right after car accidents? If you're living longer, how come I can have a teenager or a guy in their 20s with a cancer? So something is happening. And the smart thing to do is to look at it that way. You have to wonder what is going on. Because if you don't have any questions, if you don't have any doubts, you're going to keep on doing what we have been doing all along, and it's not taking us to a good situation. Now, when we talk about cancer, I want you to know that we're going to talk about cancer is not one thing all along. And in order to understand it better, so we can fight it off much better, is to understand cancer as a disease that's going to happen in different stages. First of all, we have to have some cells that are going to begin the problem. We all know that. We know that one day we start producing some cancer cells or some carcinogenic cells within our body. And that actually happens every day, probably since the day we're born. Because if you think of cellular replication, you make one cell after the other after the other. This is like making millions of photocopies. Millions of photocopies. Isn't it logical that every now and then we're going to have a faulty copy? Something that didn't go exactly the way it should be? That has a little problem with the toner or with the size or whatever? And what you do? You take all your copies, you review them, and the one that it has a little fault, you just tear it and throw it away. Well, that's what happens in the body. When we are developing all the copies of our cells, we have several checkpoints that review exactly that. It's just like the photocopy. You have photocopy, I see it, and then I say, oh, let me see. No, the toner here failed. The thing, the drum has to be cleaned. It didn't work very well. So you tear it, destroy it. The cells do the same thing. We have different checkpoints at which we can tell if the cell is going to be a good one or it has any problem. And believe me, if it has any problem, that cell is going to be destroyed. We don't need it. How do how the checkpoints work? Well, they are a combination of immunity, they're a combination of chemical reactions, they're a combination of different hormones and chemical, we call them mediators, in other words, that help something to happen, like vitamins. And those substances all together make this checkpoint work. And it works very well, it works brilliantly. When people ask me sometimes, Doctor, why did I get cancer? I always go back within myself and ask myself, how can I have lived so many years? Just imagine how many cellular replications I have had during my lifetime. And you say, and nothing happened. So a lot of things have to be working right. And if you live 20, you live to be 40 or 60, whatever, think of the millions of cellular replications you had all that time and nothing happened because those checkpoints work. Now, if the checkpoint fails, we're going to start producing abnormal cells, faulty photocopies. They don't deliver the message. You will not be able to read them. You're going to read part of it, part of it not. You might misunderstand the whole message. So something is happening there, and we're missing completely all the information. And believe me, everything we're talking about right now is about biochemical information. That's what cellular replication is all about. You create a new cell that contains all the information of the original cell. That's what the replication of the DNA or the nucleic acid is all about. You produce the same amount of genetic material to create two cells, but it has to be identical. If not, you're not going to have two daughter cells. You're going to have something weird, something you don't want, something that can produce disease, something that could be very costly for the function of your whole body. That is what I want to talk to you, because this very important message, if we begin to understand it, we're going to begin to solve it. And believe me, the tools are within your reach. Don't go anywhere. I'm here with you. My friends, I'm Dr. Rodriguez. I'm back as promised, and I'm the medical director of BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. And I'm here to talk about different subjects. Today, we're talking about cancer. Why? Because cancer is something that, if not the number one killer, because that is heart disease and vascular disease, is something that worries us a lot. Why? Because we have very poor answers to the treatment of cancer. And yes, I have to acknowledge that we have made accomplishments. Some of them are brilliant, but we're far from the word cure. We're far from the fact that you go to the doctor, he gives you a prescription, you take it, and the cancer will be history, as it happens with many of the diseases that mankind has conquered. But the most important part about cancer is that it is a self inflicted problem. It didn't come from anywhere. It's not like COVID, it's not like tuberculosis, it's not like any foreign thing coming into your body to create a problem. No, it is completely self inflicted. We have created a problem that after it's going, it's unstoppable. It's a snowball. You will not be able to fight it off and control it. And the ways you have to control it are some of them very aggressive, some of them might in themselves put you at a big risk of many things. So you lose everything. You lose your life, in one word. Just imagine that you have a little pain or ache or whatever symptom. You go to the doctor. He says we have to do some tests, and the next time you sit across the desk, the doctor tells you, "I have bad news. You have a cancer." Forget about where it is. The word itself is going to freeze you because you know what might be involving after that. And in some cases, yes, you can have very good results depending on what type, what stage, what everything. All that is very important. That's why surveillance, and proactive surveillance of ourselves is so important, because the sooner we find out, the easier, the less expensive, the less problematic, and the more successful therapies will be. That's why we have to get every morning up and say, how am I feeling? How am I doing? You take your shower, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you start thinking if you are exactly the same guy or the same girl you saw last night or the day before. So that is proactive surveillance. Be proactively looking for symptoms, for problems. Without being paranoid, but just being under surveillance. And that can help a lot. And we're talking about how cancer might develop. And we're talking about how, if you open any dictionary, the one of your choice, you're going to see that the first thing they're going to tell you in cancer is that cancer is characterized, because they don't tell you this is cancer, they're going to tell you facts about cancer. But one of the main facts is that cancer cells behave like embryonic cells. They lose completely the control for replication, so they create more cells and more cells and more cells. Not only they create a lot of cells, they also have some biochemical tricks like creating growth hormone to provide themselves with new blood vessels so they can have their own blood supply and keep on growing. Cancers are very sneaky, and they can do a lot of dirty tricks on our body. But how did it begin? It began because in all the replications of cells that we have in the body, somewhere our checkpoints failed. So, lifestyle, that you are going to hear more and more in relationship to cancer, lifestyle can have different impact on a cancer. If it is prevention, what we're talking about, if it is the beginning, if it is the evolution or the progression of the cancer. Different lifestyles might be very good for different points of the cancer evolution. When we're talking about the beginning of a cancer, we were talking about a checkpoint that's right at the root of the cellular reproduction. In other words, we make sure that the DNA that we have copied is a precise, authentic, perfect copy of the mother cell DNA. If not, we're in trouble. So we produce that very good cell, we check everything fine, doesn't work, we destroy that cell, it's not good, we come on, bring me the next. And that's the way we grow and live and live all our lives. Because you know that we grow not because our cells are becoming bigger, but because we're creating more and more cells. So you have a lot more cells today than what you had when you were 5 years old. So, with that said, then what can happen with those checkpoints? Well, it now begins we have begun to discover that those checkpoints consume some nutrients that are absolutely essential in the prevention of a mishap being ignored. And what are those? Those are very simple nutritional substances like folate. You have heard of folic acid, of course. We know that we give it to pregnant women to guarantee that the reproduction of cells in the fetal and embryonic part of your life, where you have millions of cell productions every day, are really good. We give them folic acid. So that continues to be good throughout your life. We have to make sure we are adding that to our life. All the B vitamin uh, are important. All of them. B1, B12, B6. We need all those B vitamins to work. Those are the little chemical keys that make this checkpoint flow. If we're missing some of those, our checkpoint might not be working very well, might not be well oiled, might not be working fast enough, might not be working. There might be a problem. And if we have a problem, we're going to let pass abnormal cells because we're not checking everything thoroughly. There are other substances that are also very important, like zinc. Zinc is a mineral, so is magnesium. Those two minerals are now being, what could I tell you, are being discovered with a very important role in checking the cell reproduction to make sure that the DNA is not damaged. So, and we need it. We need zinc. We need magnesium. Magnesium, by the way, is the biggest mineral deficiency in America. So the same element that we need to make sure all our cells are healthy, we don't have it. Not even because you might be eating right, but our foods are depleted because our soils are depleted. We should lay the land rest every 7th year. We haven't done that in 200 years. So the land is depleted. So the plant that you eat is not going to be what you think. And I know many people that tell me, but doctor, I was so good at eating. I was so watchful. I did this. I did my homework. I studied. I knew my veggies. I knew my beans, my legumes, my everything. I knew it all. Yes, but the product you're buying might not have the quality. And it's not, watch this, very careful because you might fall into the trap. Being organic doesn't mean it has everything it has to have. Being organic only means that they have not used pesticides or that type of thing, but not that the soil where the plant has been planted has been properly cared for. So our proactiveness has to go beyond everything. And that might explain why we see more and more cancer in America. If we're low on zinc, if we are low on manganese, on magnesium. And another one very important, and this is very dear to me, which is selenium. Selenium is a mineral that's not very abundant in certain parts of the world. And University of California, San Diego, that's why it's very dear to me. I was with a team of researchers that were looking about cancer frequency in different parts of the world in agreement with what levels of selenium they had in the soil. And the areas of the world with huge or with large selenium had very little cancer. But places like America, the United States of America is very low on selenium in their soil. So once again, we eat thinking we're eating right, but we're not eating what we need. So we have to supplement. And selenium was one of those things that became very important. Now, I'm going to go back to my grandmother and your great grandmother. Did you ever hear about something called brewer's yeast? It has a lot of selenium. And in the old times, brewer's yeast was used as a common supplement for kids and young people. They were doing the right thing. They didn't know why, but they were doing the right thing. So you can see that if we start reviewing what we eat and how we provide our body, we're going to be helping all the checkpoints that make sure that our cell reproduction is going to be normal. It's going to produce healthy cells. And if any of those cells do not fulfill the quality, they're going to be destroyed. But for that, we need a healthy nutritional environment. And unfortunately, it goes beyond choosing our foods. We have to choose the foods by where they're coming from, by their quality. And also, bear in mind that supplementation in today's everyday life is going to become more and more important. I want to keep talking with you, so stay tuned. My friends, Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez again, talking with you this evening. If you are listening to Truth Be Told Radio Network at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or good morning if you are at 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time, Truth Be Told Radio Network. But have a good day, have a good night wherever in the world you're listening to us. Because today, in our present environment with internet and all those things and social media, you might be 3 o'clock in the morning for you, might be 12 noon. And nevertheless, I'm very happy that you're with me and that you are following some of these programs because believe me, it's information out of my heart to you to help you to understand and help you to program a better lifestyle and a better prevention program and just to be healthy. And if you happen to have any disease, I want you to know that there are many simple things you can do to address the condition and help in the treatment. I think the times where we thought that we have a problem, we go to the doctor gives us a prescription, and voila, everything is finished, they're gone. We have to understand that in today's world, we have to pitch in, we have to help, we have to be supportive to our bodies. And now, if you have listened to the beginning of this program, you understand that many of the things we do every day are going to have an important effect in the prevention or the progression or the defeat of a deadly disease. Yes, we can help to defeat a disease if we know what to do. And we have talked about the importance of some nutritional elements that work with the checkpoints that assure us that we're going to have a very good reproduction of cells. So every cell we produce is going to be as healthy as the one before. So that assures us that our body is going to continue to grow and thrive. But aside from that, there's another very important part, which is the so-called carcinogenic substances. In other words, yes, on one hand, we're taking care of ourselves, etc. But on the other hand, we might be doing things, we might be getting substances that are going to be very aggressive to our DNA. Why do we keep talking about nucleic acids? Because from the health, from the integrity of the nucleic acid depends that the next cell is going to be healthy or not. So anything that blocks that continuity is going to be risky, to say the least. If not, it's going to be disease producing. So you don't want that. I don't want that. So we have to work. And we were talking about sufficient supply of important vitamins like the whole B complex, like vitamin C, minerals like zinc, selenium, etc., and vitamin D also. All those, it's like every part is important. So make no mistake. You have to take care of yourself in order to be healthy. And for that, you need information. And that's what I hope I'm providing to you. What is next is the ability to keep out the substances that are called carcinogens. In other words, things that can produce cancer. You have heard that. People tell you don't eat this because it can be cancer producing. Okay, but what is that? Why do they produce cancer? Because they damage the DNA. And that's exactly what we want. Very healthy in every single cell of our body. That's going to guarantee a fantastic, thriving living. But if something is very aggressive against our DNA, then we are in trouble. And probably one of the worst is cigarette smoke. I sincerely do not understand why we keep on smoking. We have done everything we can to don't smoke here, don't smoke there. To me, cigarette smoking should be completely banned. It is completely abnormal. It is completely unhuman. We should ban it completely. But nevertheless, if you cannot do that, you can certainly stop smoking if you smoke. You can certainly stay away from cigarette smoke if you can. I'm going to give you a very simple figure that I hope is going to give you some idea of what we're talking about. If you think of cigarette smoke and lung cancer, it could be 72% the chances of cigarette smoke producing lung cancer. Whereas if you take the other substances that we call carcinogens, you're talking only about the 13%. So that's important. 13% is important. We should avoid it, and we're going to tell you how. But cigarette smoke is very dramatic. So stay away from it. Don't let anybody smoke. At our hospital, we don't let people smoke, not even in the sidewalk. Forget about outdoors. I don't want anybody smoking just nearby. That's it, period. So the carcinogens are substances that are very, unfortunately, very simple and very common in our daily life. Why? Because there is a substance, for example, called benzopyran, and this substance is produced when we grill meats. It's the black part of the meat. And I know the smell and the everything, the flavor, all that is very good. But the more you cook a meat on the grill, the more of this substance you are going to be getting. And that damages the DNA. So if you're going to grill, go for very tender, not overcooked meats, use lower temperatures, longer times, and don't do it very frequently. But the other part that to me is more worrisome is the presence of nitrates, because they can produce substances that also damage the DNA. And those substances are in products that we consume very frequently. And that's processed meats, ham, sausages. All these processed meats that we all love are part of our life, contain these substances because they have been added. You say, but what happened in the old time? Well, in the old time, if you look at a video on how they make or how they made ham or any of those cured meats in the past, they use salt or garlic and they would let it dry for months. And yes, it contains certain nitrates after you put them through that process, but they will never change to nitrosamines, which are the carcinogenic substances. So if you buy any meat that has been naturally cured, you can continue to go ahead with it. But if you go to the supermarket and you read the label, you're going to see that nitrates, and nitrates have been added. Those are chemicals that are going to turn into carcinogenic substances. So I hate to give you the message, but we should stay away from them or do them as little as possible. But to me, the best way is either to get naturally cured meats that unfortunately at this point in time are expensive. If you try to buy prosciutto from Italy or serrano from Spain, they're going to be expensive. They're going to be $100 a pound. So I know, but we have other options. And that's what we have to know. That's what we have to understand. Now, all these substances are DNA damaging. So that's exactly what we want to do. I want to underline this concept because the more you understand it, the more you know about it, the better off you're going to be. The idea is that as we grow, all our cells continue to be what they used to be. And to do that, we need that the DNA of the cell is going to be exactly the same of the following generations. Now, we go to another important part of the equation, and that is chronic inflammation. And inflammation is the production of a number of chemicals that are to help us in the case of an emergency, but unfortunately, we generate a lot of these markers very abundantly and in a steady way in a process that we call chronic inflammation. That is also a damaging factor for the DNA. And there you can find a lot of causes for this chronic inflammation. Like, for example, even psychological stress. You know, for many years I have said that to me, stress is a precancerous condition. And let's be serious about it. Stress is not that you're worried about this or the other. Stress is that is not that you have to pay a bill. It's really how you take it. It might be something very simple that produces a lot of stress. And it could be very important, but you don't care about it. It's not affecting you deep in your system. That's why we see so many people that get sick after prolonged periods of time of stress. That could be being a caregiver. That could be given lack of physical activity. That is very damaging. We need physical activity to survive. And it is so important that we're going to continue talking about cancer today, and our next segment will be on physical activity and cancer therapy. So stay with me. Friends, I'm so happy you have given me the chance to share some of this information with you. And I'll be even happier if you share this information because this is something that's very important for you, for your children, for your family. This week, I had a couple of interesting patients where we were discussing about some of these things around food and lifestyle and so forth. And I told him to do something very simple. This is like fighting a war. So you need a situation room. And to have a situation room, all you have to do is get all your family together, sit with them, tell them what is the position, what's happening right now, and ask everybody to bring their their body mass index, their weight, their height, and their body mass index. And then you review what is the situation. And then you can review what is the weak part of your team, which are the strong members, the assets of your team. And as a whole team, you create commissions to look after the fridge, to look after the pantry, to plan foods that we're going to bring in from takeout food, foods that we're going to cook and how we're going to prepare them. And then we're going to meet, you said, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, and bring all the information and tell me what you have done. That's your situation room. And you're going to be able to see how many pounds, how many units of body mass index your team has lost. And then you can look at the guys that are not performing very well. This is a war. This is a war against disease. And your situation room is put everything on the radar so you can tell what areas you have to take care of. And that's going to change your life, and it's going to change the life of those around you. And if you talk about your example with other families, with other groups, at work, at church, you know how much good you're going to be doing to all the people that you know, to all the people that you love. That's why I tell you, this is information we have to share because it can work for everyone. It can work for me, it can work for you, it can work for my spouse, it can work for my children, but it can work for other families. And the more involved you are as a team, the more successful you're going to be. You need husband and wife and children and mother-in-law and everybody in the household to be a part of that situation room. And today we're talking about very simple examples on how cancer, which is a very sneaky disease, can damage our DNA and turn the physiology of a normal cell into a self sufficient unit that will replicate and will look for its own blood supply and will create a different, almost an organ, which is a cancerous tumor. Not only that, but it's going to produce cells that are going to go to distant parts and the liver and the brain and the lung, wherever, and create new tumors. And it's going to be taking over your body. And fighting them off is going to be difficult. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be painful. So we don't want to get to that point. So we have to learn, where do we start? And the younger you are, the better off you're going to be. So now, with all those things in mind, then we say, okay, I'm understanding all that. What's next? What's next is making other changes. We're talking about a barbecue, okay? We're talking about you taking rare meats, not well done, making sure we add a lot of veggies, and I was telling you about the quality of the vegetables. You know, I have a safety valve that works very well. Uh, don't go to the supermarket, go to the markets, to the farm markets, because farm people will sell their products. They produce themselves, they produce smaller crops, they produce them slower, and that produces better veggies. Because the other problem of plant deficiency is that they put a lot of fertilizer so the plant grows very fast. It's like chicken. A normal chicken takes about 4 months to get to your table. One of those things you will buy in the market take 8 weeks. That's not exactly healthy. And the same with plants. But the faster the plant grows, the less absorption it has of important minerals. But when you go to the farmers market, these are smaller crops made with a total different environment, water in a different way, and give them their time. So plants have the time to absorb the important nutrients from the soil. So don't go to the supermarket. I always urge people to go to a farmer's market. The other thing, you're going to meet people that think alike and will give you a lot of advices, and that will put the whole thing together. And the next important thing is physical activity. DNA, we've been talking about a lot about DNA. DNA is a very complex molecule that at the end has something called telomeres. These telomeres are special chain of molecules from which the DNA can pick something to fix itself. The longer the telomere, the more chances the DNA has to repair itself. The shorter, it's going to be limited, and it could get under a degenerative condition. You know what is the only thing that has been proven that makes telomeres longer? Exercise. And I don't have to tell you, you can watch it in the news. You see a guy that ran on the New York Marathon and he's 80 or 85. That's why he is 85, because he has been running. Not because he has a lot of strength or stamina or anything like that. He's in very good shape because he exercises. So, mow the lawn, vacuum clean the house, move the furniture, go out, walk, move. You need at least 30 minutes of active physical activity every day. If you do that, you're going to be gaining a lot of things, and I don't have to tell you, you're going to feel it. Now, okay, doctor, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I have done a lot of things right. I cannot go back to change a lot of the wrong things I have done in my past. Where am I today? What can I expect? That's the time to come to BioCare Hospital. That's the time to pick up the phone and call one of our doctors and ask those questions. Just a phone call. It's going to cost you nothing. Doctor, I'm so old. I have this, I feel this, I feel the other. Let's begin by the beginning. You have this, you have that, you have the other, because we can help you. And then, your next vacation, then you plan something that's very, very wise and smart. You're going to plan a BioCare Health Getaway. What is a BioCare Health Getaway? That is a vacation time. Don't look at it as a hospital stay or as a medical appointment. That's going to be a vacation time in a full-fledged hospital that has the ability to do everything it has to do in order to evaluate, to wait exactly where your health condition is, what has been damaged, what are your strengths, and work on that in order to recover the full function of every part of your body, to get rid of inflammation, to get rid of weight. We all can afford to lose weight in this time and age because we all overeat. And supplement, target supplementation, not just supplements. You just have to know, what is my problem? Is it going to be magnesium? Is it going to be selenium? Is it going to be vitamin D? Is it going to be B complex? No, you need target supplementation. And once again, we're a hospital. We're going to do it intravenously. So in 10 days, which is our BioCare Health Getaway, in 10 days, you're going to refill a lot of those problems, a lot of those deficiencies. And when you go, you're going to feel different. You're going to look different. People are going to tell you, what did you do? Because inflammation is in your wrinkles. Inflammation is in your eyes. Inflammation is in your attitude. You see? So when you change all that, you're going to feel it. And people will notice it. I kiddingly tell all my patients, there's going to be more than one that will think you did something cosmetic, because you're going to look very good. Now I tell them, take a selfie every day so you can see the change. In the old times, of course, we couldn't do that. Now you can take a selfie and you're going to see. You're going to look at your weight and you're going to see how inflammation is shed off your body. And in those 10 days, you're going to catch up with a lot of the little problems you had. You're going to be able to solve them. You're going to have a full diagnosis. And you're going to be even more able, more capable of planning your future, planning your health. And those 10 days are going to translate in 10 years of well-being. And let me tell you, you will not wait 10 years, because we have many patients that have been here and come back 2-3 years after, and they say, doctor, I felt so good, I have to do it again. And they know about their hyperbaric oxygen and their intravenous supplementation and their artery cleansing and their intestinal flora replenishing, etc. And they feel it. They feel it. Then you say, okay, I'm getting better. I'm doing better. I feel younger because I feel like doing things I didn't feel like doing anymore. That is rejuvenation. That if you're 60, you feel like doing things you did when you were 50. And that you will. Stay with me. I want to be with you next week. So I hope to see you there. I need you there.